Hello, 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 hello. Welcome.
You started without me?
Well, I had to. You were over there.
Oh no, this light is bright, honey. We gotta tone this down. I can't be that bright. Whoa! I don't know what's going on.
I wouldn't say you can be that bright.
Oh.
Yeah, well, it was a long day for me today.
It was a long weekend.
Yeah, preparing for a show on Saturday. Next Saturday.
Yes. I didn't know what you were talking about.
Well, we're busy every weekend. You see, you didn't light me up. See, look how dark I am. I'm smiling. Can you see me?
That's so funny. Yeah, you actually said that.
There we go. Look at that. So anyway, today we.
I think that's better.
Yeah. Well, you always look good, dark or light.
Dark or light.
Yeah, you always look good. Well, welcome to Tweed Talk today. It's not a usual day when we come in.
I know, Sunday Tweed Talks.
Yeah, Sunday. And you know, it's a special day. We're doing it for a friend because you know, he couldn't do it any other time during the week like we usually do. But he's such a good guest, such a good person that we could actually have him anytime.
Yeah.
To come on and talk to us. Since I met him, he always had a constant smile, always smiling no matter what.
Yeah.
Every time I saw, that's the way that I know that he is.
Yes.
Now, even in the photos.
Right, when he was in the hospital.
I'm going to show it later. So
he was
you know,
just smiling. Yeah.
Smiling.
You know, Lorenzo was one of our guests on the early iteration of Tweed Talks, and it was great because you know he had sent us a message. He said, "Hey, you guys, I have a cookbook that came out. Can I send it to you?" And we got one of the first shipments of copies, and it was autographed and signed to us. And so you know he's just very dear to our hearts.
Yes.
Him and Kela.
Yeah.
I can't say we grew up together because she's
because you practically raised her.
she's quite a bit younger than me. But her and her mother and I were dear friends.
Okay.
Dear friends when I lived in Sleepy Hollow. And so that's how we knew each other. She was young. She may have been in like middle school when I met her.
Yeah.
And now
I remember she was young.
Grown with 3 children.
Wow.
Yeah, 3 children.
You know, it's funny that you said that because today, doing the book fair,
yes,
and a lot of people kept coming up to me, and I thought it was the parents of the kids that I had taught before, and it ended up being that they were the kids that I taught before. And I said, "Oh, so yeah, you taught me whatever amount of years ago." I said, "Oh, wow, okay," because I was saying, "Oh, I was about to say, how's your kid?"
See, and that's why I tell you, stop doing that. Just ask the person, "I'm sorry, I don't remember your name," because it's just like, "Oh, how's your daughter?" I have 3 sons. Pete, what are you talking about?
Angelica.
Hey, Angelica.
Angelica.
Angelica's my
Yes.
oldest, and she hurt her foot the other day. But we are thankful that there are no broken bones in her foot. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you guys, if you're just tuning in, we have a really special Sunday show. Obviously, we typically go live on Mondays. So we know both Lorenzo and Kela very dear. They are very dear friends of ours, and we just thought we should have a show about, when you're living your best life and all of a sudden you have this health crisis that you're faced with, how people deal with it, how they receive the information. And this story is going to blow your minds, you guys. There are some similarities between both their stories. Lorenzo, we're going to pull him in first, and then Kayla's going to come in later on in the show. There are some similarities, and there's also some differences as well. We haven't seen Lorenzo in a while. When I saw Lorenzo, it was October of 23. So let me correct myself. When we did a shoot together up in Albany with Coca Casting. Hey, Carolyn. And then, I received an eerie email from Lorenzo. And I told him this the other day. We were talking on the phone, and I said, I thought it was spam at first. And I didn't respond right away. I thought about it, and then I said, no, this is not spam. So I responded to him, and it actually took me like a day to even say anything, to like process it and say anything to you about, the health crisis that he was just given, his diagnosis. So we are going to talk to Lorenzo, talk about what he went through, and see where he's at now. I talked to him yesterday on the phone, and I was like,
well, I'm gonna tell you how I found out. And we both found out different. I know that you told me, but the way I found out was through social media. And I'm gonna play that for you before.
Oh Lord. Okay. Lorenzo just threw his head back. He's like, oh Lord. And the first time we had Lorenzo on, when we were talking about the cookbook, he was crying the first time. So, and I told him, I said, when we were promoting the show, we told everyone to have their tissues ready. So we're going to do the best that we can and try not to cry.
This is how I found out. And then, of course,
Well, figures they start when you hear all these chimes. I don't even know what to say. I'm Lorenzo. This is not a set. This is a wardrobe. And all this stuff is not FX. I've been sick for a couple months, maybe longer unknowingly, and I need a heart transplant. I actually didn't know what I was going to tell you guys. I think I'm more upset because it's upsetting people. I'm totally okay with it. I'm happy that it has to happen. I'm not sure if I'm going to post about what's happened to me. I have nothing else to do but kind of wait for a new heart. Maybe do a live here and there. Never done that before. But maybe you guys could share your stories, or say hi. All right, I'll talk to you later. All right, bye.
Yeah, that's how I found out, and I was hoping that it was a set, and that it wasn't that. But you know, as the he kept talking, I kept I kept getting more and more, um, talk in my heart, because we always see him smiling all the time, and even through that, almost like the smile wanted, and what he said there, where he said that he was upset that he was upsetting other people.
Mm-hmm.
But we here in this world are here to hold each other's hand. The true friends are the one that actually hold you up when you're falling down. Those are the true friends. Everybody could be your friend when you're doing well. It's easy. But when you're falling down, those are the one, and if people don't understand that, you know, that's what life is about holding each other up. But without saying any further, we're going to bring Lorenzo on.
Oh boy. What a segue. Tweeds. What a segue. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I'm crying coming into the segment. I'm crying. Oh, you guys, how are you? Nice to see you. Nice to
Nice.
see you both.
Nice to see you too.
I love how you have the blue screen behind you, like you didn't miss a beat, like it's an audition.
I just right. I was ready. I did my hair. I put a nice shirt on.
Shirt on.
Crazy. Crazy.
God. Lorenzo, you look
Yeah.
so good. You look and sound
Thank
so
you.
good.
Thank you. Thank you. Should I take my earbuds out? Maybe. I don't know. Is it giving you a little funny sound? I could. Or is it
No,
okay?
Sounds fine.
we can hear you fine as long as you hear us.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Wow. Pedro, you just put that right up there. I have to tell you, that's the second time I saw that. I did not watch that after the first time because I wasn't aware I was doing it.
Right, you
Wow.
said that. Mm-hmm.
Wow. Well, listen,
And I was almost taken aback, like, should I have done that?
I
You know,
think
no one knows me like that.
uh-huh.
And it
Right.
and it made me nervous that I'm not someone, like you said, I smile. People know me as funny and smile. I didn't
Mhm.
want to do that to people.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm thinking, I have to stop thinking about other people right now and think about myself. I did
Right.
it for me in the end. In the end, I did it for me.
Yeah.
Guess what? You still did it for other people as well. I'm gonna
Oh,
tell you why. Because when you did that, uh, that will give hope to other people.
Yeah.
Because it takes courage to do that. It takes courage to do that and come out. And it also takes courage to smile, through the difficulty. Because you know that if you show strength in a weak moment, it's hard for me. If I'm feeling weak, it's hard for me to help somebody. But in a
right.
weak moment, if I reach out with all that I have, then that gives other people hope that if they're going through this, if they start going through this, they're gonna go, oh, I remember when Lorenzo was going through this, and I saw that he
Right.
showed strength. So you holding those people up, that in the future, if that happened to them, they have you as a light, to shine on them. So that's why I think it's important that you did that, because if you show that you're happy all the time and nothing happens to you, you can help people that go through something. I mean, we
Right.
gotta be happy most of the time, 99%.
Sure.
99% of the time.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. No, you're absolutely right. And of course, I know that now. I actually knew it the day after.
Mhm.
I didn't, like I said, I wasn't wrapping my head around it, thinking, was that right, wrong? Why am I thinking this? The very next day, I had 2,400 responses, and I wasn't even going to look on the internet. Sometimes I don't even have my phone. because all I do is nap and take medication. And when I saw that, that's when I realized, oh my goodness, something just happened here.
Right.
You know, yes, they were feeling bad for me. Yes, they wanted to support me. But I also found people sharing stories of what they had gone through. And that was different. I don't even know these people. I knew nobody. None of those people that were sharing were just sharing. And I didn't know them from Adam. And that's when I realized, okay, something's happening here.
How important that was. Yes.
Yeah.
So, Lorenzo, tell our viewers how long ago your journey started.
Oh, goodness. Well, unknowingly, I was told that within the past 2 to 5 years, a virus as simple as a common cold happened to attack me. Instead of giving me a cold, it attacked my heart. And I'm not saying it's COVID. I never had COVID. But that is what they're saying. It had to have been some sort of virus. I was not symptomatic. I didn't feel anything. I was playing tennis here and there. I was on a shoot 2 weeks ago with our friend Ann, dancing in the studio. And a little short of ref, but I would say 5 months. I would say December is when I started talking. If I were to talk to you like this, I would lose my voice, and I was having a hard time breathing, thinking it was asthma. And so I would say December is when it started. January, February, I was on location in Austin, Texas, walking across the street, and I was floored. I couldn't breathe. I literally stopped in the middle of the street, looked around if a car was about to hit me, and scurried off to a wall. And I was trying to hold myself up. I said, I can't breathe. And that's when I knew something was up. But I thought it was asthma. You don't think anything else. You think it's just a symptom you've had before, or maybe I just am tired. I'm not thinking anything major.
Of course.
Yeah. So, yeah, I just went around my business. I happened to be working back to back in different cities, back to back every week, thinking I was just tired. But after my last gig, I actually called my doctor at the gig and said, something's wrong. I need to see you. 2 days later, I saw my doctor. He looked at me. And just said, I have to admit you to the hospital right now.
Wow.
I knew I'm not going to get through this without crying, so I'm worried. Where's my tissues?
I tell you.
I am not going to get through this without. So I'm just going to, I have to pick and choose my battles of when I'm going to cry. But I didn't have to cry then.
So you were admitted to the hospital.
Yeah.
2 weeks later. And so I'm assuming they run a bunch of tests.
Well, even prior to the test, just physically looking at me, I had all the signs of heart damage. I was swollen from the waist down, and I looked like the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. It was very visible when I walked in. Well, I couldn't actually even walk into the hospital. I couldn't take any steps. I had to wait outside for 20 minutes to get enough strength to walk in and call somebody, like, I need a wheelchair. I can't walk to the desk right now.
Wow.
And it was crazy. And within that time frame, yes, they started doing tests, but everything before they even did any tests, they were telling me verbally, it looks like you have heart failure.
Wow.
And I'm thinking, what are you talking about? I thought I had asthma. And you're telling me you went from 0 to 100.
Right.
I'm on 23 right now. You surpassed what I thought was happening. And they tried to get my swelling down. I had a lot of water retention. I was literally 210 pounds. I was 40 pounds heavier than I am right now.
Wow.
Most of it was water weight because of that. I was on a train and my body within an hour and a half went through the Hulk. I transformed into something else within an hour and a half.
Wow.
You were on the train, you said?
Yeah, when my body started just growing. It was the weirdest thing. It was frightening.
Uh-huh.
After 2 days of being in the hospital in Kingston, they transferred me to the cardiologist in Westchester Medical Center in Valhalla, New York. And that's when they started doing the major tests, all the X-rays, all the echoes, all the sonograms, all the biopsies. Everything told them I had an enlarged heart, very thin walls of my ventricles, my injection fraction, which is just basically kind of the strength of how your heart pumps the blood and oxygen throughout your body. Normal is maybe 60. Mine was 16. And they were all just saying, we need you to be admitted into this hospital. We got to get you in an IV. We've got to get this swelling down. We'll see what happens in a week. Still thinking in a week I was going to walk out and leave and just have to take medication. I was very wrong. I was very wrong.
Oh my gosh. So I just have to, I want to bring this up now.
Yeah.
So you post that you needed a heart. How long was it from then to when the heart was available?
Sure. Well, 16 days is when I actually was told I had a match. When you saw me on that video, I had just gotten a balloon pump, which was a pump that they put, and it's also operated via some helium that helps pump gives it a boost. So my blood, my heart didn't have to work so hard. My heart was just working too hard with no results. So this gave it a little bit of a boost to get that blood flowing without weakening my heart even more. But yeah, I just 16 days. It's interesting because I gotta pick when I'm gonna cry now. It's interesting because that week I was not doing very well. I think I told you this the other day. I knew I was deteriorating, and to know that is awful.
Yeah.
You think you're a healthy person,
right?
You're an athlete. You think you take care of yourself, and then to find out you've kind of been wrong the whole time. It takes a toll on you. But when I set, I'm going to make a video, I kind of just wanted to talk to somebody.
Yeah.
Because it's isolation. When you're a transplant person, and your other guests can attest to this as well, isolation is a plays on you.
Sure.
I was a boy in a plastic bubble kind of thing. There's no one to really talk to about it. Nurses come in and out. The doctors come in and out. The nurse practitioners, they do their best to help you with your handling it, but you are the only one to keep you sane.
Right.
And I had to be strong to tell my family.
Right.
And I think my family handled it better because I said, hey, I'm okay with it. On the phone, when I had a group conference call with all my brothers and sisters, there was silence. And I said, wait, you guys, please. I'm okay with it. It's a solution. There's a plan. That's good news.
Mm-hmm.
And it changed everybody's tune and tone, but it messed them up,
Yeah.
you know. So I think being strong for them helped me also. But
Mm.
again, I was cool with it. I believe in science. I believe in my doctors. My team is amazing. The hospital is amazing. Uh,
Mm.
but the fact that I got a solution and a choice of, well, not a choice, had a plan. There was a plan of action. The fact that they said, Lorenzo, you're a good candidate for a heart transplant was all I needed to hear. Because
Mm-hmm.
I thought I was going to hear, get your things in order
Mm.
Mm.
and enjoy the time you have. And I'm not being dramatic because I'm an actor. It's really, when you're sick like that, whoo, it
Yeah.
plays on you. It
Mm.
plays on you. It's very difficult to find a silver lining.
Mm-hmm.
That was
Yeah.
all I needed to be told. I wasn't scared of the operation, like in my head at that time when they told me. I was more, great, let's do it.
Mm-hmm.
When is this going to happen? So to me, it was just, my spirits were lifted.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Goodness gracious. Woo.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that is, I can imagine family hearing that and just feeling, because they feel helpless because they can't help you.
There's
That's
nothing.
it's in our nature, in human nature, especially when it's family. We want to help each other. We want to help our family, and to just feel like. So when you said they were silent on the phone, I was like, wow, I felt that. I really felt that.
Mm.
Mm.
Sad. Yeah. It's, and it's funny. You know, our friend, yeah, I had to do a podcast, and I remembered, on my phone, I saw it on my phone, and it's it was funny that I texted them and I said, "Oh, I'm so sorry I can't make the podcast. I'm having a I'm in the hospital for a heart transplant." And they were just like, "What are you talking about? Don't worry about it." But I was still trying to get my things in order. I was still being professional. I did my taxes in the hospital. I told you that yesterday. How ridiculous is that? I was just trying to still be as normal as possible.
Uh-huh.
As normal as possible. It's crazy.
Line number 57, letter B. What are you talking about, Lorenzo?
Yeah.
Am I supposed to deduct this?
It was really funny. My tax accountant also said, "What are you calling me for? Rest, just rest."
Uh-huh.
But you needed that normalcy. In the hospital, there's no windows to open. You can't have fresh air. I was glad. I was lucky. I had a window, so I
Mm-hmm.
could see that. But it is a very I can see how people can get depressed. I've read about this. I'm part of a few transplant groups. Just I read what they're talking about. I'm not really inputting yet. I just like to see what everybody else is talking about, and I
Right.
feel their pain. A lot of It's not easy. The journey is a long one. It might look like mine's done. It's not. um, the journey started when I was sick, realizing having to deal with an operation that's a major operation, thinking this is going to be my life. Will I make it? It did go through my head. I was never lying to myself. I was very aware of what this a balloon pump was doing for me. It was helping me pump my heart and blood.
Mm-hmm.
It was actually helping me to be alive. It was keeping me alive. I was well aware of it. I
Mm-hmm.
know. I'm not lying to myself. But like you said, like I said earlier, whenever I said that to the video,
Mm-hmm.
first said to stated the video, I was not doing well at all, and I was at the point where I was about to take a nap, because that's all I wanted to do. I was just so fatigued. I was over it, and I'll deal with it later. And yeah, I can remember this is the week that something bad might happen. So I want to talk to somebody real quick.
Uh-huh.
And that's where that video happened.
I'm going to play another video that you made.
Oh, goodness gracious. Pedro is prepared.
Okay. Yeah.
I got my heart pillow. Volunteers make these, but I have to hug it every time I cough. That's really kind of the purpose of it. And I'm coughing, and it hurts. But isn't that cute? Wow. That's so cute. Simple pleasures, you guys. I tell you.
I love that pillow.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what. Go ahead.
I was trying to find a picture with you, but I saw the video. But I was trying to try to upload it, but I just saw the video. So yeah, why do you love that pillow?
I tell you, that pillow saved my sternum several nights. It is so painful, and I had to tell you when they asked, and you just blatantly just said 9, 10. That was a week out of my surgery. But you have to realize, I couldn't laugh, I couldn't cough, I could not roll over. The slightest pressure, your sternum is severed open. Yeah. So you're healing. I'm only a week out, but that pillow was so nice because it's cushiony and firm, and anytime you cough, you just hug it, and it helps. I love it. I still sleep with my pillow, but yeah, it was only a week out, and I kept filming myself because I just felt people were interested. And I also was doing it because I thought it was kind of my own therapy of what I was going through. Instead of talking to myself in my own head, I might as well share it with people on the interwebs and kind of work it out live and just record it.
Yeah.
So you said the pillow is made by volunteers. That is amazing. Yeah,
it's really nice. It's really, really nice. And if you look up on YouTube and all these things, there's all these different organizations that make these pillows. It's lovely. There's such a wonderful community of supporters for donors and transplant patients. I like I said, I am a member of transplant support groups. And we need these support groups because unless you go through it yourselves, as much as we talk about it, there's no way you know what we're talking about. There's just no way. We're comrades in arms, these guys, these ladies, kids, also. And only if you went through this, it takes a toll on your body, your soul, your mentality. Yes, I was a strong person. You know me as a funny, strong person. And I think that helped me because I never kind of woe is me it. I was sad when I was sad and I let you know. I was happy when I was happy and I let you know. But sometimes I don't have good days. Sometimes I do and I make fun of it. There are days I forget I told you, Crystal, yesterday, there's days where I wake up, I forget I had a heart transplant. And then when I get up, it hurts. And I know I can hardly open this door without getting a little pain in my chest.
Wow.
So it's a long journey, and support system, friends, family, mentors, and also fellow transplant patients are great to talk to.
Tell us about Hard On for Lorenzo. Whose idea was
that was something, isn't it? That was an oldest friend of mine. Oh my God, I'm like forgetting names. See, this is this is uh this is what medication does to you.
You're
I
Who
allowed
was
to.
it? Yeah, but who was it? Dave. Oh gosh, Dave. Goodness gracious. David was one of my who is one of my oldest friends. I used to work at the haunted attractions in in New well, is it New Paltz or Riften? It's the haunted hay rides, and he was my boss many moons ago. But he, we've always been friends, and he's also an actor. And we were talking. He was supporting me, and he's a very interesting, funny personality. He's very, very funny and very creative and a great writer, actually.
yeah.
Um, and he came up with, I actually don't know how he did it, but he sent me this video and I was floored.
Mhm.
Heart on for Lorenzo was just to have a heart and to support me in any way you can, whether you're donating something or just giving me a couple words of encouragement, because that really goes a long way for me. You know, whenever somebody I don't even know them says thinking about you, I mean, I don't even know you.
Right.
You watched me on a cooking show and you're supporting me. You took your time to do that. That's so nice.
Yeah.
It's so nice that I can't even tell you how much that means to me. It really does just completely lift my spirits. And
Mm.
Dave just came up with this idea. He's just funny, and when he did it, it's Dave's personality for sure. He's a little raunchy, uh, but and
Hashtag. So
yeah. So every time he says it to me, I sounds different than how when I say it.
Okay. Okay.
and the way I said it. So it's a family,
Right. It's a
Yeah.
family show.
it's a family show.
So, and then there are other people who copied him, which was really funny. He challenged people uh, to copy him in some way in their own twist. Um, it's yeah, it's I enjoyed it, and every video somebody made just made me laugh even more. It's really cute, and it's very inventive, very creative. Yeah.
That's very,
But
I,
it was very creative.
yeah, I was trying to find, that the other videos, but there were so many videos I had to go through,
Yeah.
so, but
There are.
yeah, you,
Um.
you have a lot of fans, not only through your show, but
Yeah.
also in the acting community, like with us. I mean, everybody that we met on set, and we were talking to Dario last
Last
week.
week, yeah.
He was on the show last week, and we were talking about the difference about when we film upstate and when we film down in the city,
Hmm.
and
Right.
how the upstate community, uh-oh, the
There you
upstate community is like a family.
Yeah.
We are
Yeah.
family, we know each other, and we love each other. But you have a lot of fans within us.
It's,
So
it's
I
very
knew
fun.
that when that happened, that everybody was gonna jump and support you.
Hey, do you guys know Lorenzo? Do we know Lorenzo?
Lorenzo,
What kind of question is that?
well, we had a 3 hours conversation about the topic. It.
Oh boy, that's funny.
good time.
We do have a nice community of friends. We've known each other for a long time. It's funny, and we do support each other in every way we can. But when something happens like this, you don't think about it. You don't. People were coming out of the woodwork. People I met 11 years ago when I first started. I was on a background set, and they're calling me.
Mhm.
Calling me. They still have my number. I have the same number. And left me a message. Mind you, I was in the hospital. My phone was off most of the time,
Mhm.
and left me messages saying, "Hey, man, remember set? You can do it. If we can make it 12 hours of background on set." I love how he compared it to a heart transplant, but I went with it.
Oh my God,
Wow.
that's so funny.
It was funny
I know
because I was
that was a bit so funny. Yeah.
because I contacted him and I said, "Oh yeah, oh remember Crafty? Crafty is our snacks when we eat. If for people who don't know." And I
Right.
was complaining about hospital food, and he goes, "Hey, if you can eat that crap from Crafty, you can eat." Not. He was doing everything he could to lift me up and just pump me up and say, "You can do this no matter what." It was very, very funny and supportive, and it just cracked me up. I couldn't laugh because my chest hurt, but I was chuckling all the way. I'm telling you, very, very funny. Like I
Oh
said,
my.
people were coming out of the woodwork.
Yeah, that's good.
So much love and support.
Yeah.
So
It's
we just
nice.
have Kayla that popped in, so we're gonna bring her in. But before we bring
Okay.
her in, I'm gonna tell the story that I mentioned to Lorenzo yesterday when we were talking. So Kayla's journey is a little bit different because hers started a couple of years ago. And so hers started with lupus and some other ailments and things like that. And then fast forward to now. And so right before Easter is when, Lorenzo posted his story. And this was actually during Holy Week. And I was telling Lorenzo, and Kayla posted something on her timeline.
Mm-hmm.
And her post was very vague. And I was like, the kidney is here and she's going to get her transplant. Because I don't remember exactly what she said. And then this very same day, Lorenzo said, he needed a heart, and the heart was here, but he posted about it. Like it was the same day, and it was during Holy Week. And the week before, I had, Lorenzo had posted, his what was going on with him. And we were in church. I said, everyone, please pray for my friend Lorenzo. Mm-hmm. And they did. And then the week later was Holy Week. And they both, like the same day, got the news.
On the same day.
Yes, that Lorenzo was like, he said he was getting his transplant. And then Kayla said she was on her way to the city, something like that. And I was like, she's getting her transplant. So during and Holy Week is very special to us. We are we are people of faith. And so we don't take that lightly. And I said, that is definitely like a testimony to miracles that when you pray, these miracles happen. Because then I had stood up in church again, and I said, both of my friends got their 2 organs. And I told Lorenzo, I said, right. We have a nurse that's in the church, and she said, it is so hard to find 1 organ, but to find 2 organs for your friends in the very same week within a day is unheard of. So, and I immediately, I really wanted Lorenzo to hear my prayer because he said he was going into surgery. So I quickly recorded a voice note and sent it to him. And I think I maybe sent Kayla a message, miracle, that 2 very dear friends of ours, received this blessing during such an amazing week, like the holiest week in the Christian in the Bible. So I wanted to lead that in with welcoming my dear friend Kayla in.
Hello, everyone. Hi, nice to meet
Hi,
you.
Kayla. Nice to meet you.
Welcome, Kayla. How are you feeling today?
A lot better.
Good. Oh. Good.
Sound good too. Just what you went through and what Lorenzo went through, the way that you were speaking before and the way that you're speaking now gives me joy because you sound a lot stronger. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I know that you went through that ordeal, but you sound so good. It makes my heart feels good.
Yeah. When you guys post the videos and you share, we can hear that in your voice, and then fast forward to now, and we can hear the strength in your voice, and where you guys are at today is just really a miracle and a blessing. Yeah. So we're so glad you're here to share your story, Kayla.
Thank you.
So, like I said before, your journey started a couple of years ago, right?
5 years ago.
5 years ago.
5 years. I had initially went to the rheumatologist because something felt completely off. They ran their lab work. Everything came back fine. The doctor said, oh, it's a blood disorder. No further instructions, whatever. So that July, I went to a Mets game, sat in direct sunlight. The next, I couldn't walk. Like my body to a full-blown flare. I said something's definitely wrong. Following week, I'm getting ready for work, passed out on my bedroom floor. I go to the hospital. Now everybody knows Harris Hospital is notorious for not treating patients correctly. Oh, you have swollen lymph nodes. Just follow up with a cardiologist. Okay. The next morning, and it just so happened to be the anniversary of my mother's death, cardiologist. He looks at me. He's like, "You're not supposed to be here. You're supposed to see the oncologist." So I looked at him. I'm like, "What do you mean the oncologist?" He's like, "The swollen lymph nodes are everywhere. It's not just one specific spot." So they booked me a rush appointment with Dr. Kondaguta and Crystal Run. And it was a Friday. And I remember because I had to go pick up Cammie and break the news to Cammie that something might be wrong. On the way to the hospital, we seen a blue butterfly. So I'm like, yep, my mom's with me. I was like, whatever's going on, I'll be okay. Get there. She says, I'm admitting you. And basically, we don't do biopsies on Fridays, but we're going to do a biopsy on you today. So I spent a week there. They ruled out cancer. And she said, it's most likely an autoimmune disease. You have to see a different rheumatologist. So when I went for my blood work with Dr. Bana, the first thing he said is, you do have antiphospholipid syndrome, which is a blood clot disorder. He's like, they never, I said, no. I was like, I've had miscarriages before. He's like, they never tested you? No. He's like, basically what it is, he's like, you're at a higher risk for stroke, heart attack, anything that has anything to do with blood clots, you're at a higher risk. That was the initial diagnosis. So when he ran all the panels and they came back on my dad's birthday, he calls me. He's like, it is lupus, as well as Sjogren's syndrome. So that would explain your dry eyes and everything. So from the beginning, which we didn't know, the lupus was attacking my kidneys already. We had no idea. So when it became too complex in 2020 and he sent me to the lupus center, he was just like, I can't. He's like, it's too much. So 2021 is when I first went to the lupus center, and the doctor, the whole team on the rheumatology floor came in, ran tests, did everything. And she came back. She was like, there's obviously something wrong. We have to pinpoint where it's coming from. They had me on high doses of prednisone. They tried different medications. The one medication would make me extremely sick. Last resort was chemo, the Cytoxan. The doctor at the time thought, oh, well, you're of childbearing years. You might want more children. We don't want to jump straight into that. When I told her, I'm like, I don't want any more of my own. Like, I prefer the kids that I could spoil and then give back to their parents. So that was my thing. But she didn't listen. So I did receive my first dose of the Rituxan, which is kind of like chemo, but it's not as strong. I missed the second dose because everybody in the house was sick, so I couldn't go in. They never rescheduled. So December, my labs came back. Everything was fine. January comes. I had COVID. I went from the flu to COVID. So the second time and that was the second time with COVID. And I'm trying to pinpoint, like, how did this happen? And then I remembered. So I was like, okay. Repeated labs at the end of January, beginning of February, because that they do monthly labs. I get a call from my rheumatologist. You're being admitted. What happened? Your labs are way off. That's all she said. Didn't tell me anything. She's like, go to your local emergency room. You know, if you don't want to come down to the city. Okay. So go to Middletown. And I get there. They're, oh, your kidney function. What's wrong with my kidney function? It's at 17%. I'm like, it was just 60 something last month.
Previous month, right?
I was like, it honestly made no sense to me, and it bothered me. So, and I felt like something was wrong the entire time. Because I would notice the swelling was getting worse. And that even drinking water, I'm like, yeah, no, everything just, and food tasted weird. So I knew something was wrong.
What year was that when they found the kidney issue?
2022.
2022. Okay.
So when they admitted me, and it's crazy because I always say, thank God that I switched to Dr. Syed, because that man saved my life.
We hear very good things about Dr. Syed.
He did not play, because at the time I told him, I was like, he was just like, no, something's wrong. We're going to repeat the kidney biopsy to see what is going on. Normally a kidney biopsy takes 2 to 3 days to come back.
Mm-hmm.
So when they was able to repeat it, because what ended up happening is my aunt died. Then my blood pressure would be through the roof because my anxiety. So they couldn't until they had my blood pressure under control. So when they finally got to do the biopsy, my results came back the next day. So when he walked in the room, just the look on his face said it all.
Wow.
Okay, so he told me there's no saving your kidneys. There's way too much damage. They're very scarred. And I looked at him and I cried, because here I am, 33 at the time. Like, how do I explain this to my kids?
Right.
I'm thinking, okay, yeah, the dialysis is, it's only going to be short term. I'm going to come off. So at that point, we made the decision to go ahead and do the surgery for the fistula. So I did for the fistula. And the plan was, once they found an open spot at the DeVita in Monticello, that's where they was putting me, because they didn't have any spots. So once they had an open spot for me, that's when they released me to come home. And I was able to do it. I did in-center hemo from March to middle of July. And then I switched to the peritoneal dialysis at home. So I was
right. I remember you posting videos and photos of it, and you saying when you had the procedure how painful it was. Do you have a photo?
Yes, I do.
Okay, we're gonna.
It's a photo of
Oh, that's the swelling. That was that.
That's the swelling. That's.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's the. Oh gosh, yeah.
So, and it's like now, because in this past January, I had them ligate the fistula, because I ended up developing Steele syndrome. So the blood flow was flowing the opposite way. So my entire hand and lower arm would be extremely cold, and the upper part was warm.
The blood was flowing in the opposite direction, you said?
So they had to go, they went in, they ligated it. And I told the doctor, I was like, had I known that I would have developed Steele syndrome, I would have just went with the PD from the beginning, because this is insane. I was like, my arm. They discharged me from the hospital, no directions as to what to do once they ligated it. So I'm in pain. I'm like, okay, the swelling's not going down. It looks worse. There's a bump. All of this stuff, vascular. Oh, you just it's a blood clot. It'll go away on its own. You couldn't tell me this when you did the surgery, that when you tie off the vein that it's going to clot. Okay. So I refused. And then I told Dr. Syed, I was like, I will never go back to see that man a day in my life again, because the bedside care and not giving a patient discharge instructions, no.
You know, listening to Kayla's story, you know, it's I'm just hearing how you have to advocate for yourself. Even when you have a question about something, or when you're not sure, if you don't feel you're getting the answers that you need and deserve, then you have to advocate for yourself and speak up. And, you know, you did that. You went back to a doctor that you trusted, Dr. Syed, and, you know, he was able to help you sort of get through and get the treatment that you needed.
Nobody knows your body better than you do. You know, the doctor will tell you things, but you know your body, you know how you feel. And when something is off, you know that something is off. Even if you can't tell what it is, you know something is off.
Welcome, Diamond. Welcome to the show.
Oh, of course. And that's why I tell people, I'm like, I know when something's wrong. And and it's funny, because with the lupus, I run low-grade fevers when I'm going into a flare. So on Mother's Day, I woke up with a fever. I said, "Oh no, oh no, 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 this can't
Yeah.
be."
Yeah.
As long as it was below 101,
Mm-hmm.
I was safe to stay home and not go to the hospital. If it went up, I'd have to go to Middletown. Middletown would have to transport me down to Columbia, and I'm like, "No, we're not doing this. I don't want to do this." So I explained to the doctor. The surgeon says, "You're taking all your meds. You're doing everything." And I told
Mm-hmm.
at Sunday, I was like, I woke up extremely sick. I said, I couldn't keep anything down. I said, so the meds wasn't staying down, nothing. So I said,
Mm.
water was coming back up. I said, which was weird, but it happens apparently. He's like, it's a side effect of the meds. And okay. So now everything is evening out. They switched
Yeah.
dosages on the meds.
Mm-hmm.
And they started me on an infusion that's supposed to be every 4 weeks to completely get me off of one of the meds because the tremors from the side effect of the one med is horrible.
So you had a doctor's appointment because you posted about that, and I messaged you and asked you how you were feeling. The next day you had a doctor's appointment. The day after you ran the fever, you went into the city, and they told you, that's when they said that it's normal for you to run like a low grade fever, and for you not to be concerned as long as it doesn't go over a certain level. That right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And just to make sure I'm taking my meds, and I'm like, I am taking the meds. I have everything. I know what I'm supposed to take. And I told them because a lot of the meds do mess with my stomach. So that's why they're trying to figure it's like flip flop. I can't take Advil, anything like that. So I told him, I was like, well, when I get a headache, I just take Tylenol.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
I'm like, that's the only thing I'm allowed to take anyway. So it doesn't bother me. Because like things that I was doing before. Okay, so the biggest thing, my iron is low.
Mm.
Can I have beet juice? One answer was yes. Then the next time I went back, no, because of the potassium. So then it turned to, well, can I eat liver? Oh, you could eat liver. That's fine. Okay, so all right, that works. So I was like, as long as I'm doing what I'm supposed to do, I'm fine. But it's just like some days I'm like,
Right.
I feel like a walking pharmacy.
Mm.
Yeah.
And then
I wouldn't eat liver even if Lorenzo made it. He's a chef. I wouldn't eat liver. So you're saying that you can have liver. I'm like, no.
Yeah.
That's not true. You would love my liver. I make it delicious.
Okay, I'm gonna hold you to that when you're feeling up to the liver.
Yeah, they said that.
Go ahead, Kayla. Finish
Yeah,
your
they
thought
said.
about your walking pharmacy. Mm-hmm.
so it's a bunch of pills in the morning and then a bunch at night, which I knew was coming. Like one of the best things for me is one of the meds also treats the lupus.
Mm-hmm.
So I
Wow.
don't really have to worry about adding on another med for that
Okay.
in the long run. So I am going to discuss it with the rheumatologist, the possibility of going back on the one infusion once everything is clear
Mm-hmm.
to keep everything good and from affecting my kidney because I don't want to go through it. And
Yeah.
and I remember it because Palm Sunday, my dad called me. Are you
Mm-hmm.
going to church with us?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked at the clock. I was like, what time does mass start? He says 1. So I was like, it's 11:30. I have to hurry up and get ready. Okay, I'm going. We went.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I told him, I was like, I haven't stepped foot in a Catholic church in about 8 years,
Mm-hmm.
longer. And I said, oh, I don't feel sick. That's
Yeah.
the thing. Because usually I would get that like nauseous feeling. I'm like, oh,
Mm.
that's good. In the whole mass, I felt nothing but peace.
Cool.
Mm.
That Monday morning, when they called me, I looked at the phone and said, who's. I didn't know who it was because it didn't show up kidney transplant. It showed up a lady's actual phone number.
Uh-huh.
This is so and so from the kidney transplant center. I said, oh, okay. She's like, we have 2 offers. Huh? We have 2
What?
offers. So I was like, it is 7:30 in the morning. You want to say that again? We have 2 offers for potential donors. So she's telling me everything. She said, be on standby. You'll get a second call and then we'll let you know. So when I got the second call, I had already started before that. I had already started preparing myself because I was like, all right, this is it. Let me
Mm-hmm.
now let me get everything together now. Okay. So when they called me the second time, she's like, we're doing more testing. You'll get a third call. So when I got the third call, it was, how fast could you get here?
Huh?
And so I looked at the clock. I was like, I could be there by 10.
Huh?
I got there at 8:56 on the dot. And I sat there and I was just like, okay. And they told me, and what got me is when they're like, the donor is a deceased woman. She passed away from a heart attack at 52. And I sat there and I'm like,
Wow.
I said, so this poor woman had to die for me to get a kidney. And I said, and the wait list for O positive is between 5 to 7 years.
Wow.
So I asked the doctor a few days after the surgery, said, how come I got a kidney so fast? Your higher priority because you have antibodies in your body and because of this, and you're a high risk patient. So I was in complete shock. I said, so I was just officially listed March 11th, but I had 2 years already on the list because of being on dialysis for 2 years. They list you back to the day that you started. So I accumulated my 2 years. So to me, it was a big shock.
Right.
And, I get there at 3 a.m. They took me down to pre-op to get everything situated. At 6 a.m., they took me in for surgery. So when I went in and I said it to them, I was like, do not, if anything happens, make sure you please call my dad or my brother or my aunt, somebody, to just do that. So they called my dad when everything was done. I remember waking up in the recovery room and I'm just looking like, okay, I have an IV in my foot. I have one in my arm. Then I have another one. Okay, what's going on? They said everything went well. I asked if I could call the kids. I called the kids and I told them I made it out. When I got back to my room, I went back to sleep. And I remember waking up to about 50 missed calls, 50 text messages. Like I had messages back to back to back. Are you okay? Is everything okay? I'm fine.
Yeah.
Then it was discovered 2-3 days later, I had complications. And nobody suspected anything, but it was to the point where I wasn't able to get up. It hurt so bad. So when we finally figured it out, the doctor says, okay, so we have to put a drain in because you have a fluid buildup. Then it turned into, did you know you had a infection when you came in? I said no. So I was like, I had no idea that I had a UTI when I went in. I said, otherwise I wouldn't have went in to get the kidney. She's like, you had no. I said no. She's like, that is one of the complications that you had. She's like, it leaked out into your stomach.
Wow.
So now we have to put you on high doses of IV antibiotics. So that's why I have the central line still for another 2 weeks to do IV antibiotics at home. Then I have to do the injections. But the doctor said that the way everything's looking, my lab work, the only thing he's concerned about is my potassium from the one medication. So I prescribed something to lower it. But other than that, everything's fine. They said I could go within a week or two to get the stents removed.
That is awesome.
So after that, they'll keep an eye on the drain. And if all goes well with that and there's no fluid collection in the drain comes out. And then
it's going to be a relief.
Then the central line will come out. The only thing that I told the doctor is once all this is said and done, I will need a port put in because for me to get any type of lab work, I'm a hard stick. They could never find it. So I'd rather you put a port in and be able to have everything 1, 2, 3 instead of poking and prodding and can never find anything.
So what I heard from both of our guests is, there's a lot of in and out doctors' appointments, follow-ups and treatments and procedures and testing to make sure that the organ is functioning properly. So Lorenzo, you're continuing to post also about your visits to the hospital. And this is one of the reasons why we're having this show on a special Sunday evening. So what does a typical week look like for you, Lorenzo, as far as appointments and things go?
Goodness. I have biopsies every week. I actually look forward to it because you want to know.
Right.
I don't like not knowing. A week might go by and might feel half decent some of the days. Some days, 1 or 2 days, I might feel pretty good. The rest, I don't exactly say anything out there to tell people that I suffer from shakes and tremors. It's very difficult to still, even though I'm getting weaned off certain medications. It's crazy what that does to you. It's hard to. I'm doing it right now. It's just always constant 24/7 shakes. You just have to get used to it, which you can't. Stomach hurts all the time. You have to be on your meds. You have to have a schedule. I have alarms galore for when I have to take my meds, when I have to eat. I have to eat, drink, and just be the best patient in order to make sure nothing happens to me bad that week. My only job is to be the best patient I can for me. If I go outside, I have to use sunscreen because donors will tend to, no matter if they have a lot of they're tan or anything, we're prone to skin cancer. We have to watch anybody around us. We have to make sure nobody has an infection or anybody has a cold. We're very, like I said, isolated from the world in that way. We have to protect ourselves because any little thing can set us off. Especially if you have one complication, it will lead to others. So I have stomach problems, insomnia. The only thing that I don't have a problem with is my appetite because of all the prednisone. It's gaining so much weight because of it. I eat everything in sight. Unfortunately, I can't taste a thing. My taste buds are shot.
I was going to ask, how are you able to taste more? Because I know you posted that you taste more.
Today I was able to taste a little soy sauce. Like finally, soy sauce. But thank goodness for sriracha and hot sauce. I'm telling you, thank goodness for that. Because that stuff, it's the only thing I can taste right now. But so my days are just very structured. It's lunch, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, weighing myself, taking my temperature, blood pressure, sugar. I'm being my own, you're basically responsible for your own health in a sense, even though I have home health aides as well. I have to watch my insulin because my insulin, we're pre-diabetic because of what we take. And it's hard for them to balance our meditation. We might skew one week and they'll either increase something or decrease something and we'll skew the other way. So literally we're teeter-tottering just because they're just trying to find the right balance of what we can take for that week. Because it's not what people don't understand is like, okay, they found a balance. They're good for months. No, it's a daily thing. If I report that I had diarrhea or something, there's a problem. If I report that I had a temperature above my normal, there's a problem and we need a tweak. So you are kind of this science project in a sense. And I feel you with that poking and prodding. I was a pincushion. I have very thin veins and they're deep. I tell you what, it was just needles galore. I just was just looking at them. Just do it. Just do it. It hurts like hell, but do it. There's no other way around it. And she's talking about a port, which I dig that. You're very brave for a port, but I hate that too because it's just a pain to have that 24/7 in you. So there's no pleasantries when this is happening to you. All we can do is hope for being okay that day and waking up the next day without too many complications. It's nice when we have 2 or 3 days in a row where we're even Steven and nothing went too crazy. It's great. But when something does go askewing, you get anxious, your emotions take control, and we're extremely emotional because of the medication too and what has happened to us. It's a hard balance to do on a daily, But what can we do? We have to do it for our families, for ourselves. And, I'm thankful for my donor heart, your donor kidney. Amazing that it's even happened within the same time frame, let alone Holy Week. My goodness, great. Mine was on Easter. I woke up. I'm, you know, so
Crazy.
it's, but the journey is long. Mine's not over. Yours is definitely not over yet either. But it's a journey I'm happy to be on. Let's just say, other than not being able to do anything about it.
Because you have that second chance, and you're always saying, living my second best life.
Right.
Yeah. There's a purpose now. There's more than just.
Yes, absolutely.
I could only imagine. They say eventually you will be off the drugs?
Eventually, no. I have to take medication for the rest of my life. I have to take immune suppressants and immune suppressant drugs for the rest of my life, because I could go a year without having any, say, organ rejection, but then something can happen. So it's best that you are on these drugs and just lower certain other drugs that kind of mess you up, that we don't necessarily need at that time anymore if we're doing okay. So hopefully my steroid, which is also prednisone, goes down and down, because I am a monster on prednisone. You don't. It plays with you. If you egg us on a little bit, you might want to leave the room, because we're turning green, folks. I'm telling you.
Wow.
But but you have to control it, and you can feel it when you're weaning it off. But then you get symptoms of achiness. You can't really sleep. You get insomnia. You get headaches. It's a good thing to be off of it and weaning off it, but you have side effects from it.
Okay.
So there's a lot to handle. But again, I'm glad I'm handling it with a healthy heart. How's that?
Yeah.
That's it. Okay,
so Kela, you are always posting about your appointments back and forth to the city, because you're in the city a couple days a week, right?
2 days a week.
2 days a week. Okay. But one of the great things I love about Kayla's post is she always stops somewhere really nice, and she's like taking pictures in the sun and saying like, "Oh, I'm in the city, but I'm, And so there's also like an upside to being in the city, and getting good results from when you go and you get tests and procedures done. So
And it's been the same team that I had since I was in the hospital that did the transplant.
That's wonderful.
So I'm very happy about that. The one thing that I don't like is when they do the biopsies, because that hurts, and everybody asks, "Oh, so where did they put the kidney? It's not in your back." No, it's in my stomach. So when they do, and it's so
what?
It's my new kidney in my stomach. Yes, that's not that. I have to send you the picture of the It's actually in my stomach on my left side. I had a right kidney, so when they do the right kidney, put it on the left side. So kind of, it's weird. It's like a swap thing. So the biggest thing, so when they do the biopsies, now when it's in your back, they lay you on your stomach, and then just I had low dose fentanyl all 3 times that they did it with oxygen on when they did it through the back. So now they just give me they inject it with lidocaine, and they just put a big needle in it to take samples. I'm sitting there like, "Oh, help me." and it's bad, because then it's to the point where I have to make sure I hold my blood thinner for 48 hours, and I can't take my aspirin for 48 hours.
Wow.
So it's a mess, because my first biopsy out of the hospital, Cammie forgot to remind me to not take my Lovenox. What did I
Okay.
do? I went and injected myself on a Saturday, and I had to go on Monday.
Oh man.
So they ended up rescheduling, and it was fine. It all worked out. And the doctor said, you know, we have to. I was like, I do remember. I said it was just that day that I completely forgot. I have alarms set.
Yeah.
I literally, because now they increased my sodium bicarb. So I'm like, I have to take this 3 times a day, then I have to take this one, and then I have to take this one. So it's a pain. But I'm grateful I got my second chance. Like I told my brother, I said, my real birthday is August 5th. But if you want it to be technical, I'm going to start celebrating on March 26th as well, because that's when I got my second life. I said, I don't have to worry about if something happens, what's going to happen.
Right.
So with the anti-rejection drugs, it's like hit or miss. The Tacro is the worst one. That's the one that causes like the tremors, the shakes. It'll raise your potassium, which I had no clue. So now I'm like, oh, okay. So they're trying to get me off of it. So for kidney patients, they have an infusion that they use called belatacept. So I went through and I told the doctor I'd rather do that, because honestly, the Tacro, it's horrible. And the shakes and tremors are very noticeable. So you could sit there and be sitting completely still, and your hands will start shaking. My legs will start shaking uncontrollably, and I could just be sitting there like, oh, okay.
You know, I find it so amazing that you both sound like doctors.
You become a doctor.
No, you do. You know which medication. You can't take it for 48 hours because you got to have this procedure, and this one causes tremors. She said whatever she said, and then Lorenzo was like, yep, I know that one. It's so amazing.
We have to be experts with our own medication. They tell us to study your medication. I was studying my book, like a little, I was in school. Every time a nurse came in, I was reading. I wanted out of there. I wanted out of the hospital. I wanted to know everything I needed to know to get me out of here. And I feel it. That tack is it helps, but it's horrible.
It's horrible. And at the same time, because my meds come shipped through a specialist pharmacy.
Yeah.
So I don't have to pick up my meds. My meds get shipped right to me.
That's awesome.
So I sit here, I'm like, so I was now living in Sleepy Hollow. You know, people like to steal packages. I said, if somebody steals my meds, all they're gonna find is all these anti-rejection drugs.
They will bring it back.
I was like, they'll bring it back. They'll just look at it like, oh, it's this. Yeah, no.
This ain't no Amazon package.
Yeah.
And the worst part for me is the nystatin, when they had me doing the nystatin.
Oh Lord.
I had them switch me to the pill because I could not do the nystatin. And I'm like, nope.
The nystatin is a liquid that is part peppermint and disgusting something. It looks like snot. And you take it to wash your mouth. It's for thrush. It's for infections, mouth infections. And not only do we gargle with it, we swallow it. It's gross. So I still take that.
I would ask them if they can to switch you to the pill. They have a pill, and they have, I think there's something else. I think an injection. I told them,
let you guys discuss.
Yeah. Wait, now what's that pill called? Let me.
You know what? Hold on. It's something I know. I literally told him, I'm like, I cannot do this. I'm like the nausea and dope.
Yeah.
Switch. So they switched, and a lot of these doctors, especially in this area, they don't know everything. So find a good doctor. It's really hard. So when I started off with the whole issue with my kidneys, I had Dr. Ronan. That man never explained a thing to me. So when I was in the hospital that February 2022, and he came in, we're taking out your chest catheter. Why? Oh, it's a risk of infection. So what if I need dialysis again? I went off on him. I flipped out. He walked out of the room, and it was just like, it makes no sense. Wow. So you're going to take out the chest catheter, and then it's going to have to be replaced. So when Dr. Syed explained it to me, I calmed down. I let them take it out.
There's Syed. Yeah.
And then they had to replace it. I said, so I'm like, so this entire time I was right. You should have just left it.
And then they had to, oh gosh.
So, and that was the worst part about it, because the second time it was bleeding horribly.
Mm.
And we couldn't figure out. I was like, so I told him, this makes no, I don't want to do it. I don't want to deal with it. And it was just the roller coaster of emotions, the highs and the lows. Even now with the meds, and that's why I specifically said to the doctor, I said, I do take an antidepressant. I said, I have no choice because my emotions are horrible. If I don't, it's just gonna get worse.
Mm-hmm.
The only time they had me taking the prednisone is they did the IV one in the hospital. Mm-hmm. And they said they wasn't sending me home with prednisone. I didn't need it. They didn't want me to have it. So that was fine with me. But the finger pricks, even after I was off of the prednisone.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and I asked, do I have to do this at home? No, you just have to check your blood pressure and your temperature and your weight at home.
Okay, so at least you don't have to prick yourself at home.
No. And I told them, I literally went in there. When I went in, I weighed 115. I came out, I weigh 100 pounds. And I told the doctor Friday, I said, this is not okay at all. I don't like it. I'm not comfortable. I'm not used to being this small. I said, I was this small in high school. My 9th grade year. I am 35. And my 11-year-old tells me when it's windy, the wind is going to blow me away.
How was your appetite?
My appetite has actually gotten a lot better.
Okay.
So now, like, the things that used to taste weird to me, they're starting to taste better. So I'm not allowed to eat certain fruits.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I can't have pomegranate, star fruit, and there's another one. Some
tuna,
weird type of orange, and grapefruit, which I never liked grapefruit.
Sushi, can't have sushi.
What? Lorenzo, you can't have sushi?
No. It has to be thoroughly cooked.
Yes.
We and then, for us to have a steak, it needs to be burnt. No red meat.
Lorenzo, oh my gosh, you have to burn a steak? How do you feel about that, Mr. Chef?
I don't want to talk about it right now. No, it's awful.
It is. And
it is.
That's the hardest part for me, because I was like, so I can't have my steaks medium rare anymore? I was like, okay, I guess
no.
Kela,
I've learned to deal with it.
She's a chef in her own right. I have to tell you, her mother, and I love her, and I mean this in such a loving way, was like the whitest person I knew, but she married a Colombian and she learned how to cook the cuisine. I would absolutely love eating her leftovers when I would go to her house during the day, have some coffee, and she would have the arroz con gandules. She would make all that cuisine for her husband. Mm-hmm. So she learned how to cook it was amazing. And she passed that down to Kela.
Yum.
Well, me and Tony.
Yeah.
Tony cooks better than me, but he hasn't mastered that knowledge yet.
So let me just put this up. So when I was talking to you when you were getting released from the hospital, Kela, I said, you must be really anxious to go home and see your kids. And she was like, Crystal, they can't be home in the house with me for 3 months.
And then
the
doctor actually changed the 6 because I had the hole in my incision where my incision opened up. And I didn't know. He said, no, we didn't stitch it. We used surgical glue because we didn't want it to, what's it called? What did he say? His exact word was, want it to leave a huge scar.
Mm.
So, okay. And actually, because I have a public health nurse that comes out, she's awesome. I love Alita to death. And she came out and she was just like, I'm going to give you something else. We're not packing it. And as soon as she did it, it closed up pretty much on its own. Good. And
so what?
That's it?
That's my arm. So I have a black and blue still in that area.
Really? It's still black and blue? Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow.
When they did the ligation, I ended up with an infection. Me being my father's daughter, I'm stubborn. Really? I didn't go back to the hospital. They gave me sterile needles
Mm-hmm.
They needed me to inject heparin into my PD bags.
You did it yourself?
I popped it myself, and I cleaned it out myself. Had antibiotics here already, so I took the antibiotics here already, and I was like, I'm not going back to the hospital. I refuse, because I was like, they did not do anything that they were supposed to do. Did Dr. Syed yell at me? Yes. Did Rebecca look at me? She's like, you're crazy. I said, I had no choice. I said, I was not going back to the hospital. And then 2 weeks later, where did I end up? Back in the hospital because my catheter moved.
Oh, no.
So they had to reposition the catheter. So I was like, I can't win. Can't win.
So you said they pushed it to 6 months?
So they could come visit.
Right.
Like, Cammy does stay the night here and there. Junior, on the other hand, he wants to stay the night, and I tell him, if you stay the night, you have to behave. You can't bounce off the wall. You can't expect me to be in the kitchen making you your steak and your rice and beans, because I can't really do too much.
Yeah.
And if I do, and my dad finds out, I get yelled at, and then I get threatened to get the shoe thrown at me. So I'm basically like, oh, okay, can't. So he came in today, like my dad came today.
Okay.
Soup? Yes. Why? Because I wanted chicken soup. But I brought you food. You brought me food, but I'm still hungry. I said, and I took breaks. So even then, it's just like, he's very worried. And I told him before I went in for surgery, that Monday when I called him, he was at work. I said, Dad, they called me. They might have a kidney. I'll let you know in a couple hours. So when I called him, I said, they have it. He rushed over here. He's like, if you guys need anything, you let me know. All this stuff. He's like, and when I came home, he helped out a lot. Like him and Norma right now, Monday through Thursday, and then Saturday and Sunday, I don't have to cook anything. They're feeding. So I said, okay, that works for me.
Yeah. I bet your house smells good.
I'm trying.
They're our neighbors, Lorenzo. Her dad and stepmom are neighbors around the corner.
Well, if you want the Honduran fried chicken, Norma sells it. And that stuff,
Lorenzo, that sounds good, right?
It sounds good. The first thing I wanted when I got out was fried chicken.
Yep, and they was good. The sancocho that they gave me in the hospital, I said, this is
I
said, this is not sancocho. I need the real stuff.
Oh my God.
Oh, I need the real one.
My take. Like,
it was so funny because I told my dad, I said, I can't wait for summer. He says, why? I said, to sit by the river with you in that big old pot of soup that you're making at the river. He's like, you can't be in the sun. I said, I have a sun tent. My feet could be out. I'll be in the sun tent. I said, and I'll take a nice nap.
You think about the small things that you look forward to once you feel a little bit better. And it's just, Lorenzo was telling me the other day how he can work out for like 10 or 15 minutes, something like that, Lorenzo.
Yeah, then I get pooped out. I got to take a nap.
Yeah, but you feel good when you do it.
It does, because I know I'm doing it, and it's helping me. It's helping me.
So, Lorenzo, you have a donation link, correct?
I do. GoFundMe link that lovely people who I don't even know are still to this day supporting. It's been overwhelming. Everybody who's been involved with it.
He's got it across the screen. I'm like, where did it come from?
What's that?
The link. Can you guys see the link across the bottom of the screen?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't even see it. Wow, Pedro, you're pretty good.
Wow, he's on it. He's on it.
He's for sure on it. But it's funny you were mentioning fried chicken. It's my doctor said, "What's the first thing you got to eat when you get out?" I said, "Fried chicken." And they said, "Don't let anybody hear you."
It's always the best, and that's certain things. I've not. The worst part of the diet for me, the renal diet, was always the no potatoes, no yuca, nothing like that. And it drove me crazy. So now that
why is that? Why can't you have those?
The potassium.
The potassium. Okay.
So I pretty much one day went into the for my clinic, and I looked at Dr. Syed. I said, if my potassium's high, don't be mad. And he's just like,
You had a potato.
what did you eat? I said,
Sancocho.
and he just looks at me. He says, Kayla. So then my labs came back. My labs were good. He's like, I don't care if you eat stuff that you're not supposed to eat, but moderation.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Moderation. Follow. I didn't have a fluid restriction, which a lot of people found weird because they're like, you're on dialysis. So I told them, I was like, I'm still producing urine. So if you're still producing urine and you have residual kidney function, they're not going to really have you on a fluid restriction unless you're doing hemo. I'm not doing hemo. I'm doing it out. I said, and I'll notice if I'm starting to feel funny, my feet will start cramping up and I'll see my feet swelling. I haven't. So that's when I'm like, okay, yeah, I need a red bag. Or if my sodium was like, my blood pressure was extremely high. So I had to learn to balance out what bag I needed on what days, because certain things. All right, so my dad and them, they use a lot of salt. Not a lot, but they use salt. I don't cook with salt like that. Why? Because I already know I'm not supposed to have it. So if I was gonna eat at my dad's house, I need a green and a yellow. If I ate extra of what I didn't need, a red and a yellow. So it's always okay, I have to do this. But then if I pulled off way too much fluid, I would feel it because the next day I would get extremely sick. The last PD session that I had, and I remember I was standing in front of my cycler. I got up to disconnect. All of a sudden, I felt that warm flush, and I'm like, oh no. Next thing I know, I'm on my floor.
Right.
So I checked my blood pressure. It was low. So I said, I pulled off way too much last night. And then I said, oh, I definitely pulled off way too much last night. So it's balancing it. And a lot of people don't know, like, okay, there's a difference. I said with the hemo, that's blood. PD, it's a solution that has sugar and it's going into your stomach and it processes. Okay, so I did 9 hours, 4 cycles. So I would dwell for like an hour, almost 2 hours, and then it would drain out and more fluid would go in. So I would basically laugh at myself. I'm like, yeah, I look like I'm 6 months pregnant, but in the morning it'll be gone. And it would literally, my stomach would go back down to normal. So for me, it was always, the hemo was the worst for me because I'd home and be extremely tired. And I wouldn't want to do anything. And having young kids at home, it's not
right.
Having a child that's on the spectrum is definitely an option because he used to be the eloper. He would run out the house. He had no sense of danger. He's gotten better with that. Now it's more so I have to teach him to not throw glass because he likes to throw. He's that destructive. But now he's understanding. He knows if well, mommy needs to rest, and he'll sit there and he's calm. Or, mommy, I have to go home with Christopher. Yes. Mommy, I come see you. Yes.
So, how old is Junior now, Kayla?
Junior is 13.
And Cammy?
Cammy's 11.
And your oldest, Andrea, how old?
Yeah, I know.
16?
16.
Wow. Well, we have a question here from Young for Lorenzo.
Oh, on how you got heart illness to begin with.
How did I get heart illness to begin with? The doctors actually did all these tests. Until this day, it's been inconclusive of what the actual virus was. I am going to be going into the hospital for genetic testing. They want to see if somewhere in my, generations this has happened before. But right now there was no history of heart failure or heart problems. There was more history of diabetes in my family. Interestingly enough. And what she was saying is, speaking of diabetes, I have to watch what I eat. It is the true testament of you are what you eat. I have to not eat a lot of pasta or potatoes. I can't spike up my sugars. I do have to balance is really the key with everything. And it's funny. It's so simple in a sense also. it's what we've learned before as growing up. If you eat this, eat your vegetables with it. And that's how you balance it out. Don't just eat a ton of French fries. Eat French fries and something else with it, and it'll kind of balance it out. Not saying I'm eating French fries, folks. Not saying that at all. But there, but yeah, it's a lot. It's a balancing act for sure.
Right.
Balance is key. So, young men, go back in the broadcast because Kaela did talk about her journey because she said at the top of the show, well, not at the top of the show, when she came in, that it started with a lupus diagnosis and then it went on to something else, and then a couple of years before they, realized that it was your kidneys. But before, so we don't want to keep you guys too long. We're gonna let you guys go, but Lorenzo, any words of advice as far as health is concerned for people? Maybe I used the word already. Advice. What you think that people should do if they feel like there's something a little bit more going on?
Yes, it's quite simple. Don't think that you're okay. As much as healthy as you might be a yoga master, you might go to the gym every day, you might be doing gymnastics left and right. I'm looking at you, Pedro. But you see people look healthy, but they can be non-symptomatic. If you feel something is off the slightest bit of your body that's just not what I usually feel, go see your doctor. It's not a big deal. Just go make an appointment just to find out. You never know. There was a woman who went to the hospital for asthma, was on my floor. She was going to her doctor for just losing her breath. She needed a heart transplant.
Wow.
Healthy as can be, and just floored by that news. She had 3 kids. Has 3 kids also. She's doing fine now. But again, I try to go back and think, what happened? And it was kind of, what am I thinking? I was out of breath. I couldn't breathe. Why did I just not go to the doctors or emergency room? Just don't be a superhero. You're not a superhero.
Right.
Your health is your wealth. You cannot do anything if you're not healthy, folks. Literally, nothing else matters.
Right.
Take care of yourself so you can take care of your family.
Wow.
Thank you for that.
Yes.
Kaela,
what about you? What about you? What words of wisdom would you give?
Don't wait. If something's wrong, get checked. If you know your body well enough to know that there's something off, go get. People used to call me a hypochondriac. I'm like, no, I know my body well enough. And Crystal, my mom passed away from a massive heart attack at 38. She was also epileptic. I'm not here and around and something happens. I have kids. Something happens to me. My main priority, like Junior, who's going to take care of Junior? Who's going to be able to take Junior? So it's not about just me. I have. So when it comes to the kidney failure aspect, a lot of people don't realize your kidneys are basically like your heart. You need your kidneys. So if your body's not filtering out the toxins through your kidneys, you're making yourself worse. So I personally, I had an empty bottle of Patron in my cabinet, and I just smelled it, and I'm like, and I used to like stuff like this. I'm like, ugh. Like, what was I thinking? So now I'm like, all the stuff that I use, I'm like, the person that I was, I said, that's not who I'm going to be. And people don't realize, like you said, like with the diabetes and kidney disease go hand in hand. And I tell people all the time, you don't want to play with your health. Organs are very hard to come by. So needing like, okay, if somebody has a lung issue, a person could donate a little piece of their lung or a little piece of their liver if a person needs. But when it comes to a kidney, a heart, no, you need the actual full organ. And it's not an easy recovery process for anybody. You know, Lorenzo had a heart transplant. I could only imagine how he's going to feel with his recovery. I get winded walking up and down the stairs, and I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
So it's hard, and people don't realize you have to take care of your bodies.
Mm-hmm. Listen to your body. Take care of your body.
Oh, well, I'm young. I no.
You have to, yeah. And sometimes it does. You still have to think about your family. And I heard you both sort of say that. Lorenzo, you were talking about that. And Kayla, you mentioned with your kids who you live for. Just amazing. You know, I'm so glad we had this special show to bring you both on. You know, your stories are definitely going to help someone. This is going to live forever on our YouTube page. So feel free to share it anywhere. And, you know, we'll make sure we put some hashtags in it. So maybe someone who's looking will watch this and, you know, be inspired to go to the doctor.
Right. You know,
thank you very much.
I talked about Lorenzo today at the book fair.
Okay.
And there was a couple of people, and I told them that Lorenzo had written a book.
Mm-hmm.
So they became my friend on Insta. And I told them our friend Lorenzo was going to be on tonight, and our friend Kela.
Yeah.
And they happen to be Filipino.
Oh, yes. So they said they were going to watch.
So they said they were going to watch. So I want to say hello to people.
From the Sullivan County
Festival Book Fair.
Yeah.
So Lorenzo, we love you, and I'm glad that you came and, you know, shed some light on this, and, you know, we feel for you for the road that you're going through, but you know, you good people. And I heard something before. There's a guy that sell apples, right? And what they do, they put the good apple in the bottom and the bad apples on top. So when they go to a bad road, right? When they get to the place where they're going to sell the apple, the apples that are good, that are on the bottom, rise up. So regardless of what road you're working through, if it's a bumpy road and you're a good person, you will rise to the top. That's what that example is about, that you are good no matter what road you're in, you're going to rise to the top.
Just know that our church, Mission Church of God in Liberty, New York, is praying for you both. Just so please,
I love that. I love that. Thank you.
Praying for you.
That's lovely. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you for tonight. This was wonderful. Thank you for sharing your story. Good luck to you. Gosh, I will follow you. I know you're going to do well. You got a strong head on you. I can tell. But I wish you the best. And thank you so much. This was great. Let's do it again in a few months and see how we're doing.
Okay. Yeah. I love that. Thank you both for joining us. We will be in touch.
All right.
Okay. Take care. Bye.
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 That was wonderful.
Yeah. I'm glad we did that.
Can we post Dina's comment on the bottom?
Absolutely.
Hey, Dina, thanks for coming in. Hi, Sabrina. Thank you, young man, for coming in. Her brother will have a kidney transplant soon. Her sister is donating.
Oh.
That is wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, praise God for that, Dina. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate you guys coming on to watch. Again, feel free to share this video with your brother and your sister, Dina. Have them watch it, and, you know, maybe they will hear some words where they will feel inspired and hopeful. You know, young men, we will put you on our prayer list too. I love that now people are just asking for prayer. So I just think that's so lovely, because you know, we talk about how important that is, and supporting each other, and that is how we support our family and friends. We lift you guys in prayer.
That's right. That's the best way to do it. Okay, so tomorrow we'll come in just to keep.
Deborah, go back and watch this. This was such an amazing show. I actually talk about how
the power
our
of prayer.
dear friends, during Holy Week, the holiest week in the Christian calendar, the holiest week, both of two of our dear friends ended up receiving that there was an organ available for them, one heart, one kidney, and they were getting their transplants. And just go back and watch it. It's okay.
Watching from
wonderful.
Puerto Rico.
No, I'm not going to say buenos dias. Buenas noches. Buenas noches. So thank you guys for joining us live on Tweed Talks on a Sunday evening, which we don't typically do. We typically do Monday. So we won't be here tomorrow.
We'll be here tomorrow.
We are? Doing what?
Talking about the weekend. And the next week.
He's just full of surprises.
Yeah, we had to continue to do it on Monday because it's expected. But this was a special show.
This was, yes.
Yes, this was a special show. Deborah, thank you.
Yes, Deborah, I know you're a pastor, critical care nurse. God bless you. That is awesome.
Awesome. Okay, so we're going to say love, peace, and harmony, and we'll see you tomorrow. Quick one tomorrow. Bye-bye.
I will. Okay, Deborah.
Okay.